Well, the Prime Minister has made a key announcement in his 78th Independence Day speech, putting the focus and emphasis of India's future in medical education. The Prime Minister has announced 75,000 medical seats. It is a welcome step considering the fact that about 20,000 Indian students pay somewhere between 25 to 50 lakhs a year in medical education abroad. Newsx had drawn a list of 10 reasons why India needs to increase its medical seats, such as growing population, demands and improved distribution, economic impact of approximately rupees 5,000 crore a year, and future projections and competitiveness. Let's first listen in to the Prime Minister and then we discuss this major announcement.
10 साल में मेडिकल सीटों को करीब 1 लाख कर दिया। आज मैं करीब 25,000 युवा हर साल विदेश में मेडिकल एजुकेशन के लिए जाते हैं और ऐसे देश में जाना पड़ रहा है। कभी तो मैं सुनता हूं तो हैरान हो जाता हूं। और इसलिए हमने तय किया है कि अगले 5 साल में मेडिकल लाइन में 75,000 नई सीटें बनाई जाएगी। मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, विकसित भारत 2047 वो स्वस्थ भारत भी होना चाहिए और जब स्वस्थ भारत हो तो आज जो बच्चे हैं उनके पोषण पर आज से ही ध्यान देने की जरूरत है। और इसलिए हमने विकसित भारत की जो पहली पीढ़ी है उनकी तरफ विशेष ध्यान दे करके हमने पोषण का एक अभियान चला है।
All right, joining us on this debate at this point in time is Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Chairman of Nephron, Padma Shri, Dr. PSV Rao, Consultant Surgeon, Manipal Hospital, Dr. Pooja Tripathi, Congress Spokesperson, Ruchika Agarwal, BJP Spokesperson, also joins us on the broadcast. Dr. Bagai, I'll begin with you. How welcome is this announcement by the Prime Minister, and how much of a need is India in when it comes to medical professionals, considering that the population continues to grow, the economic status and socio-economic parameters continue to improve, but yet, the last mile medical assistance is still something that India grapples with. What do you make of this announcement?
Good afternoon, everyone on panel and all the viewers. So, few very important points. I think India's population, when we began our journey post-independence to now, has increased about 6x or 7x. The medical seats in terms of MBBS in the last 10 years have increased 118% from 51,000 odd to reaching 1,12,000. The MDMS, which is the postgraduate seats, have increased 133%, now reaching 76%. But the important point is the ratio difference, the delta difference between the undergrad and postgraduate seats is being narrowed, so which is very good. The hospital beds have increased, reaching approximately 10 lakhs now in 2024. The number of hospitals now have increased, crossing 70,000 pan-India. The number of doctors registered as allopathic doctors is crossing 13 lakhs. All this argues very well. The exponential increase in the number of undergrad and postgraduate seats, that means India is going to be producing more doctors. We had 1 AIIMS earlier, and now we have 23 AIIMS. 2 are under construction. We'll have 25 AIIMS in the next 1.5 years more. The important point here is that we need to make some radical changes in our approach to medical education. So just allow me 2 minutes uninterrupted so that I can give you a flow and a sense of where I'm coming from. The earlier rule of having medical colleges established was that you need 25 acres of land, undivided land. Then it came down to 10 acres of undivided land. All this is completely Stone Age views. We don't need such large parcels of land for establishing a medical college. We need, at the present moment, what is happening is that for a 500-bed teaching hospital, we have approximately 100 to 120 seats as MBBS undergraduate seats. The ratio is 1:4 or 1:5. Easily, this ratio can be increased to have more than 300 to 400 medical seats for every 500 beds. So in the same bricks and mortar structure, we will be able to add on more number of medical seats. The next important point is that when you have a maldistribution of medical education, that means almost 70% of the medical colleges are structured in South, which has about 35-36% of Indian population, the ratio gets skewed, and therefore there is a supply-demand gap in various regions. 75% of Indian healthcare is private and 25-30% is government. We need to correct that ratio. And last, most importantly, is we need to percolate the health education towards tier 2 and tier 3 cities. How can that happen? It can only happen when you build infrastructure around that. At the present moment, our ratio of hospital beds and doctors per thousand population is still below the mark of WHO. We have done very well in the last 10 years. There is still a gap which we need to fulfill. There is a journey which we need to fulfill. But converting all the private hospitals, which are 100 beds and above or 150 beds and above, into teaching hospitals is another very, very smart and a correct, appropriate way. Let me reassure everyone that all the doctors who are working in private hospitals, by and large, have come from a teaching background. They have years and decades of teaching expertise and research and education. The same talent pool can be used to convert your private hospitals to teaching. I think it's the onus of our private practitioners, consultants, senior consultants, visiting consultants, honorary consultants, also to spend a couple of hours a day in education. It's extremely important because education is the strongest currency in the world. We need more number of beds still, more doctors, more hospitals being converted into teaching hospitals. We've done excellently well in the last 10 years, but still there is a mile to go, and hopefully we should accomplish that in another 3 to 5 years. Over to you.
Good points there. Dr. Pooja Tripathi, what do you make of the announcement that the Prime Minister has made, and considering and in juxtaposition to, the salient aspects that Dr. Bagai has also pointed out, it seems that, this is a very welcome sign. Indians, instead of going abroad to pursue greener pastures in medicine, should stick around in India if this infrastructure is facilitated and help Indians.
Any declaration that pertains to healthcare is a welcome step. Definitely, I'll not deny that. But we have to see that the healthcare narrative in India is marked by complexities and contrasts. When they say they are planning to open up new medical college, when they want to take up medical colleges in every district, the point of shrinking healthcare to the percent of budget GDP to 1.2%, with a minimal to reach up to the SDGs, to reach up to WHO goal, to reach up to a respectable health indicators is 2.5% of GDP is something that it's a story of contrast. It's just 1.4% of GDP in the latest budget that health has been allocated. In fact, health has been decreased allocation. Health has been decreased allocation of budget. And talking about the new medical colleges, I think what India sees, I've been a public health expert and I'll say this purely as a public health expert, the problem is multifold. There is a huge rural-urban disparity. The 70% of rural population have just 40% of access to the healthcare services. There's a lack of infrastructure, there's lack of healthcare professionals, their financial constant, and the healthcare industry is very fragmented in urban pockets. I think that we needed a very broader, larger policy planning and implementation plan to tackle that. Secondly, I want to point out that the recent budget provides no budgetary provisions for the Ministry of Stats to provide a census. While the Lancet, as a prelude to the elections, Lok Sabha elections that we went to, Lancet put out an editorial which said why data and transparency matter, accurate data for health policy planning and management. There has been no budget provision for census, which does a periodic measurement of morbidity and out-of-pocket expenditure. We have to understand that India has a very sad figure of the highest out-of-pocket expenditure. And that's where, census is needed to get the clear picture, to get the clear data. We cannot make our policies around a data that is outdated from 2011. The third, I want to point out that, a welcome step, I completely agree. What has the recent attack on the female doctor has left me shattered and has left me shocked, and was there for the safety and provision of not just female doctors and every female in the country. And third is when we saw that 15 new aims have been conceptualized, 15 new aims have been declared by this government in the last 10 years, and we see the status of aims. You give them fancy names. It's just an MBBS courses are run from and out of campus places. There's this OPD that had been started. There's somewhere IPDs have not been started. Somewhere there have been partial IPDs. We see AIMS Darbhanga, we see AIMS Madurai is just this big land filled with water. So I'm saying, having declarations and all is very good, but when will you reach out to the base of the problem? When will you reach out to the crux of the problem is what we ask for. And that definitely, when you shrink the healthcare budget, when healthcare screams of increased allocation, and it's not just because health is a very complex narrative. It's not just public health infrastructure. It's not just making infrastructure, having healthcare personnel. It's a multi-layered problems that is asking for your attention. The malnourishment figures, indicators, the maternal mortality indicators, the infant mortality indicators, everything is interlinked. And that's why we needed a broader vision. First of all, let's sit to the ground and first of all increase the healthcare budget allocation and healthcare percentage allocation.
Let's get a word in from Xavier Rodriguez as well. He enjoys responding to you, and I can already see a smile on his face. He's itching to go at it. Xavier, do I need to in fact reiterate what Dr. Pooja just said, or have you assimilated and already formulated a response in your head?
Vineet, always a pleasure to be on your show, and I'd like to wish my fellow panelists a happy Independence Day. India, no matter which political party is at the helm of affairs, because at the end of the day, we are all Indians. And Dr. Pooja Tripathi is an excellent spokesperson from the Congress.
Xavier, there seems to be a problem with your network. We can't see your video. Okay, go on now, go on. It's better now,
Xavier. Can you see me now?
Yeah, go on, it's better now.
Okay. So Dr. Pooja Tripathi has highlighted certain points that she seems to consider to be the problem. But that problem is something that troubles a lot of the opposition. You see, I do agree that healthcare in India needs to move and get improved by considerable margin. And that is a reality, because healthcare is one of the segments in India that has seen tremendous growth, but that growth for the kind of population that we have is still leaves a lot more desired and a lot more to be done. So when the Prime Minister talks about creating 75,000 more opportunities for doctors and medical professionals to actually come out, I think we need to go beyond that. I think we need to be able to understand that our growing population requires not people within the urban level of hospital infrastructure, but also rural infrastructure where people can get medical treatment and don't have to rely so much on private hospitals, where at times they don't have the budget to deal with the cost of treatment in a private hospital. So healthcare is a serious concern. And it's a serious concern because we are a large population, for one. Number two is that while we are building the structure of a very robust healthcare mechanism in India over the last 10 years, I think it's important to understand that we are going step by step, and it's taking time to get there, but we will get there. So it is important to be optimistic. The problem I have with Dr. Tripathi's point of view is that there is very little optimism. And while she has some valid points of view, if you do not have D to point E and point F, we will never want to move anywhere further. So let's try and understand that we have to build an ecosystem. There is a need for the ecosystem for our...
Xavier, we're losing you there. Xavier, maybe you would want to log out and log in again, or perhaps be in a place where there's better connectivity. Dr. P.S.V. Rao, I will take your opinion on this as well. Of course, majority of what needs to be said about this announcement has already been said, sir. What would you like to add?
Vinay, good afternoon to you, to all the viewers, and happy Independence Day. See, please don't only talk about what he said about the 75,000 seats. He also mentioned that a whole lot of resources are pouring out of India to various nations so that they benefit finally. Once they go out to study, they are going to be doctors there, and it is their hospitals and medical colleges which are getting funded. So you may be not too happy with the budget allocation, but he is talking about the resources which brain drain plus resources drain. And I have written about it and I have spoken about it on numerous occasions that the solution to the fact of migration of and this so-called brain drain and resource drain is to increase the number of seats wherever there is shortages. It also solves the problem of corruption in NEET and other entrance exams because there is a shortage, there is a supply demand, a severe supply demand problem there. So if you increase the number of seats, and I have written on this saying that increase the number of seats so much that even foreign students will come here, we will then gain brains and resources in the process. And he mentioned that also in his speech. So this is, if you take the whole picture, what he is trying to do is to sort out all these problems simultaneously. Then, as far as opening medical colleges in various rural areas, tier 1, tier 2 cities is, agreed, initially you won't have the entire infrastructure, but you can at least make a beginning. You can't start a beginning with everything in place. So make a beginning and keep improving. And during my postings in villages, I have worked in a village in Haryana, and there are other places in India where I have worked in rural areas. The main problem with people from rural areas and tier 1, tier 2 cities is not to, even if you give them a free hospital care in the tier 3 city, the cost of travel and staying in a tier 3 city is beyond their management. So if you provide the same health facilities in the rural and semi-rural areas and semi-urban areas, it helps them a lot. Many times the hotel bill of their relatives who come along with them is more than the hospital bill, even for a private hospital. So there is sense in reaching out health, and I hope education, these two things need to be reached out to every place, along with the infrastructure of roads, electricity and water, because to run these hospitals, to run these health centers, you need the basic infrastructure of road, electricity and water. Now, all fields it is being done. So we shouldn't be saying what is the budget allocation only to health. What about the budget allocation to infrastructure, which is going to help you run these places? You can't run a hospital, you can't have one booth bangla of a hospital where there is nothing happening. So all these things are important, and this gives me a lot of hope that there is change happening. At least in 10 years, the statistics that Professor Bagai gave, the number of medical seats and the number of postgraduate seats has more than doubled. The colleges have nearly doubled, and there is more coming up. So I hope educational institutions and medical institutions reach out to every corner of India.
All right, let's see if we can get Savio back into this conversation. Savio, let's pick up from where you left off and before your network in fact crashed. Go on, Savio.
My apologies because of a bad network. So let me just give Ms. Pooja Tripathi some data, okay? Now the budget for health and family welfare and health research in 2022-23 was 75,731 crore. In 2023-2024, it was 80,518 crores. And in 2024-2025, it's 90,659. So I'm not sure what she's talking about in terms of the non-focus of the government as far as healthcare is concerned. Healthcare is one of the prime focus areas of the Narendra Modi government for a very simple reason. Let me tell you why. You see, for a very long time, healthcare was a facility that people with money were able to really go and get. But over a period of time, it is important to understand that the country is making tremendous effort in bringing the right kind of professionals.
Savio, we have a paucity of time as well. Karthik Chauhan, NEET student, is also joining us on the broadcast to give their assessment of what the Prime Minister said. Karthik, if you can hear me. Karthik?
Yes, sir.
All right. What did you make of the Prime Minister's announcement for 75,000 seats? And considering what has happened in the NEET in the last few months, how welcome is this announcement? And what challenges do you think await, this kind of, an ascendance in our medical ecosystem?
First of all, I would like to greet everyone present here. As we all know that our Honorable Prime Minister has increased the medical government seats to nearly about 72,000 to 75,000. It's like a very pleasurable moment for everyone of the country and the students. As we know that everyone wants to get a government medical college because it's like a dream of many students to be a doctor and help the people of their country. And in India, most of the people are dependent on agriculture. They are from rural areas and don't have enough money to go to private hospitals and don't have a budget to get the facilitated treatment which is meant to be for rich people. So if these government seats are increased, if the government seats are increased, of course the facilities will be provided to the rural people, as most of the students will be able to get the knowledge and will be able to become the doctor and will be able to help the future of the country. So as for me, both resources and the people are needed to help those resources work. Not only the increasing seats of medical college will help, but also to provide the education and the facility to rural people to get those facilities will also need consideration. So if these medical seats are being
all right,
increased,
Karthik, I appreciate you joined. You spoke to us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.